So I've been wondering what the drop rates are for different items when you go fishing in Fortnite. So what I decided to do was go fishing 100 times with both the regular fishing rod and the pro fishing rod to see what I would get. So the first thing I want to do is explain how I did it. And I just went into Battle Labs, which is basically the new version of Playground. So I started off at the river next to Lazy Lake, then continued down to the lake that's above Misty Meadows. And I basically did the same route for both, just because there's certain fish that can only spawn in certain locations. And I just basically wanted to make sure that it was a fair comparison between the two. With that said, let's get into the results. But one more thing I want to add in is that I didn't realize this, but I think they actually took out the spicy fish and the hop flopper from the game. I didn't notice until I did this, and I got literally none of them. So coming in first for the most common is the flopper and blue rarity weapons. They tied for 24, meaning that each one made up about a quarter of the total items I caught. This wasn't that surprising to me, considering that whenever I go fishing in game, I usually do get a lot of floppers, although I didn't expect that the blue weapons would actually tie it. So coming up next is the snowy flopper, which I caught 11 of, which is about a tenth or 10% of what I caught. These are the same as regular floppers, except A, they don't stack with them, and B, they give you ice whenever you eat them, but they do still give you the same amount of health. Coming in fourth, just a little bit behind the snowy flopper, was the Riff Fish, which this was pretty surprising to me because, I don't really get these very often. But I feel like it was just because I got very lucky, and at one point I got about like 4 in a row or something like that. It was just a lot at once. Next up at 7 was the Jellyfish, and this is not very surprising because whenever I'm fishing in game and I get these, I usually don't even get enough to the point where I want to carry them. So usually I just end up either eating them immediately or just leaving them behind. So in 6th place, just behind the Jellyfish, we had the Shieldfish. And this is really where I expected it to be because although it's one of my favorite things to get, I usually never get them enough. If I do, I'm pretty happy about it. For 7th place, we had another tie between the Slurpfish and Epic Weapons, each of them making up about 5% of the total. Epic weapons are pretty rare to get from fishing, and this is probably where I expected them to rank. But Slurpfish, I never realized how rare they were to get. And honestly, maybe that's just because, when fishing first came out, we really only had floppers and Slurpfish, but now that there's all this other stuff, maybe that's why they're a lot more rare to get. In 9th place, with only 4, we had the Thermal Fish. And this one was kind of surprising to me because I remember sometimes I would just get a ton of these, it would just be annoying. But maybe they decided to nerf the spawn rate, maybe it was just the area I was fishing in, I'm not sure. In second to last, with only 3, we had the 0-point fish, which is a little bit lower than I expected. Maybe it's just the fact that they spawn more often in the desert, because that's where all the crystals are. But maybe it was just my luck with that fish. Lastly, for the rarest thing that you can get from fishing, we have Golden Weapon, which made up only 2% of the total. And I think that makes a lot of sense, because I rarely ever get these. I mean, even purples are pretty hard to get. So now that we have all the rates for the regular fishing rod, I'm going to compare that to what I got from the pro fishing rod. So first I'm going to be talking about what I got less of. And there wasn't much of this, but the weapons, they reduced drastically, going from 24 blue weapons to just 5, and no epic or gold weapons. So if you're looking to get weapons from fishing, you probably just want to stick with the normal fishing rod. So next we're going to be looking at the things that either didn't change or only went up by a very minimal amount. So the Riff Fish went from 9 originally down to 6 from the pro fishing rod, but like I said earlier, I think it was just lucky that I got as much as I did, and they probably would have been a little bit closer if it wasn't for that. Next, the Jellyfish went from 7 to 4, and yeah, that's the same thing. It's not really a huge difference, and I think it probably could have been about the same if I tried again. Then the Shieldfish went from 6 to 8, pretty small change, and finally the Thermal Fish only went up from 4 to 5. Lastly, we're going to be looking at what spawned more often when you were using the pro fishing rod. So first we had floppers, which went from 24 originally up to 31, pretty good increase there. Snow floppers went from 11 to 20, which was nearly double. Then the Slurpfish went from 5 to 12, which was also double. Again, the 0-point fish about doubled from 3 up to 7. And the Vendetta flopper, which you can't even get from the regular fishing rod, went from 0 to 2. Alright, so that's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. And let me know if there's any other stuff you want me to test out, like, I don't know, maybe harpoon gun versus fishing rod.